Well, welcome everybody. This is actually my very first YouTube video. I'm just going to do a quick rundown on the ix20 or ix20 SE sequencer. Now the sequencer can obviously be used for gear and door sequencing. It can also be used for canopies, canopy locks, bomb drops, all kinds of things. There's sort of three types of sequencer. There's two that are kind of come canned in the Spektrum software. One is for doors and gears, both open, both close. Then there's another one for doors open, gear down, doors closed. Applications for that would be P51, Sabre, a lot of jets, Hawks, Panther, Cougars, all the jets I've pretty much owned. There's very few that actually the doors stay open. The reason for that is there's a lot more drag with the inner doors open. However, there are several models that do just keep the inner gear doors open. I had T33 where the doors and gear were both open. It was kind of nice and easy. So some of the earlier World War II stuff where the inner doors just stay open. There are obviously examples for both, but that's why there's two canned versions. So we'll just run through those two quickly. We won't get into the other types, but there are 7 or 8 sequence pages, so you can have gear sequence, then you can have a canopy sequence, then you can have a parachute sequence, you can have all kinds of things where the sequencer can be used. And the sequencer basically is automating sort of kick points. So instead of manually flicking the gear switch and then flicking a door switch, and it's all done automatically for you. So it's like a parachute. You can hit the chute, door opening, and then the parachute will eject, all part of a sequence, etc., etc. So it just reduces the pilot's workload immensely when you can use automated systems like this. So basically, to activate a sequencer, we'll just run through one of the door sequences for simplicity's sake. The logic's the same for all of them. Go into model adjust, and then right at the very end here you've got sequencer, and there are the two basic canned items in there, and then these other 5 here are, you can use for anything you want basically, but for the sake of this video we're just going to run through one of the cycles. I'm actually building a P51 right now where the doors do cycles, so we're going to select that one. And the very first question it's going to ask me is, what switch do I want? So it typically comes inhibited. I've been playing around with this just for the purpose of the video, but you just select the switch you want by flicking the switch, or you can scroll through. If you want it, if you're mode 1, you'd typically have it over on the switch. So you push the screen. When the switch screen comes up, you just flick the switch you want. But as most of you watching a mode 2 mode, we'll click it on the right H switch. So now we're on switch A. The next section down here, this is the speed, this is the this is the time it takes for the cycle up, the time it takes for the cycle down. They call it forward and reverse. It's just naming logic, but up or down or forward or reverse. So right now it's set at 10 seconds. That's a really good starting point for test flying a model. However, it's pretty simple to adjust. You just push on that, subtract it down, add seconds, so forth, and you can do it independently. So, but for the sake of this video, we'll leave it at 10 because that's a great place to start for a test flight. Then we're going to scroll down. The next thing it's going to ask you is, what channel do you want the doors on? What channel do you want the gear on? Now, I've selected aux4, but it, let's say you want to put it on aux6, you just select aux6. Super simple. You can call it something. It's called door cycle right now, but you can call it, Ali's roast beef sandwich, or whatever you want to call it. Just whatever helps you find it in the transmitter. And also, when you go into channel assign, you'll see that it renames the channel door or wheels or whatever. So be cognizant of whatever you call it. And then down here's our wheel section. Most people want to have their gear in gear, which is channel 5, number 5 on the receiver board, but you can put it anywhere. Gear doesn't have to be in 5. So just for argument's sake, let's put it on ix2. So now we've got our doors in ix6 and we've got our wheels in ix2. So pretty simple. So proportional step is basically, it's kind of like proportional gives you a gradual change in channel. Step is an instant change in channel. I've never really used proportional. Maybe someone can mention in the comments the value of proportional, but I just leave it on step and you'll see what step means. Basically the lines are straight up and down, they're not angled or progressive. Then everything's set up there, and then we come to our first screen, and this is the forward direction. So right now forward is going to be gears down, and I look at the, it depends which way you have your switch, but I notice my switch is back towards me. Most people have gear down, switch away. So now the top screen, if you look, is labeled door right over here on the right side, and the bottom screen is wheels. So what's going to happen is when the cursor hits that line, that is the kick point. That's when the servo moves. So the servo is going to move when it hits that line, and it's going to move when it hits that line. And this is obviously the doors. This line here is when the gear is going to move. So nothing's going to happen until it gets to this line. So the idea is it's going to cruise along here. It's going to open the wheels, and then it's going to go a little further. It's going to open the doors, and then it's going to go a little further and close the wheels. And this is already set up for you. I've done nothing here at all. And so if you watch very closely, hopefully it'll come up on camera, you'll see the little cursor scrolling across the page. And there it goes. Doors open, gear open, doors closed. I said that back to front. That's actually gear down. So if you wanted to check the other way, and this is one of the challenges with the 18, you really got confused. You were making adjustments prior to the direction you wanted to go, and you very easily get out in the weeds. But here it's obvious, you can see if the cursor's armed and ready to go, it's going to move this way. The switch is in the gear down position, so this is gear up. So the first thing you want to see is you want to see the doors open. There's the cursor, doors open. Follow the bottom cursor, wheels down, and we've got plenty of time here. Doors back up. Now if you wanted to close the doors a little sooner or later, you basically click on the percentage above where the line is. So this one here, for instance, we want to move the doors for whatever reason. We want to open them a little later, so we just move that line over, etc. If you want to make a big change, you can increase a whole block. Now you wouldn't really want to do that because now we've got the door and the gears opening at the same time, but I'm just showing you basically how to adjust it. So we'll bring that down. If you want to move within the block, you can just move the cursor, you can see there. So typically what you want is you want the wheels to open as soon as they can. I mean the doors to open as soon as they can, and then you have the gear right in the center. Now this block is in activity, so the doors are going to be open and there's going to be nothing happening until it gets all the way over here, and you want to sort of center the wheels in the middle of that. Depending on the model, you want to bias maybe the wheels a little bit to this direction, so we can just move the line, or we can sorry, on the wrong screen there. And you know, basically you just move the lines around to wherever we want. Like I said, if you want to use move large blocks, you click on the percentage, and you'll see this is 100%. So if you want to move that block up, you have to go to the minus value. And sometimes the screen doesn't keep up with me, but it's moving, but the screen's not staying with me. So you can see you can create little steps. You can do basically all kinds of things you want. But for simplicity's sake, keep it at, you know, keep it wherever Spektrum has it. Just do fine little adjustments. If you get into trouble and you've made a big mess and everything's going crazy and you're burning up servos, just hit the reset button and it takes you back to where the Spektrum canned setup is. And then, you know, if you don't need to adjust it, or you do, then you can modify it from there. But I know I want more space, and I want as much time as I can, doors open, and then I want the wheels right in the middle of that, so you can see what I'm doing there. Now I've just done those two little simple modifications, and then let's just check that one more time. So we click the gear, and this is gear up, so doors will open, and then always leave a little bit of time before the gear comes up in case you bump the switch, you don't slide along in your belly on takeoff. So you want a little gap before you hit the doors. Okay, doors open, watch the cursors, wheels up, doors closed. And now we're coming into land. We want to check our land position, so watch the cursor, watch the wheels. And we might have to modify this one. So doors open, gear down, doors closed. So we want to open up some space. The doors close pretty quick. The gear might not have been down all the time, so just like before, we're going to just move that line over a little bit, so that gives us a lot more time. And then same deal here, just want to center the wheel in the center. So now it's like we did on the up, the down's going to be the same. So we rearm that. So as soon as that cursor hits that line, it'll be almost instantly. Doors open. Now we've got a lot more time, Wheels down, a lot more time, doors closed. And that's really all there is to it. I mean, and this is the more complicated one. The gear basic is basically doors open, gear open. So you just basically might have to make sure the doors open first and then the gears follow, and then on the way down, on the way up, you want the gear to come up and then the doors to close behind it. And the kick points basically are determined by the timing. So once you're all happy with that and you test fly the model and everything's working great, then you can start, and this is what I do, I get as much spread between the two kick points, and then I just back down the time. Typically 6 seconds is where I end up on a jet. Depends on the situation. If it's electric, you might want to increase that because electric gear takes a little longer, or some of the air systems can take a long time. But typically around 6 seconds is ideal. And you might find that the gear reverse, so we're just going to check that. Yeah, so gear down, so this is from the up to the down position. Typically that goes a lot quicker because you know, you got gravity working for you, so you can see thing happens. That's about 6 seconds, but you might find that you've got a little bit more time, and you can bring that down to, say, you know, 5, probably not 3, but 5, or yeah, around 5 seconds. So basically you can adjust the time this adjusts the time the whole sequence takes, and then these screens adjust the various, what I call kick points, so when the servo is activated. And then this is like full direction in either way. So you can also take it if you wanted to have it only go half deflection. So if you want to have a 2-stage, like if you were doing a drogue shoot or something, you could make these like, you know, 50%. You see you've got a step, so you might have a 3-position sequence where you want to, like a drogue shoot, where you arm the chute and then it comes along and then it kicks the chute out. So that can all be done by stepping down and so forth. It's a really powerful tool, and it's one of those things where even though this video might be helpful, it's, you know, I've learned just by experimenting with it. Sit down with a receiver and a couple of servos and just play with it. Just, you know, quiet time, grab yourself a coffee, no interruptions. It's very, very intuitive. You can't get into trouble. As I said, if you get really out of shape, just hit the reset button and you're right back to the way it started. Anyway, hopefully this is helpful. If it is, then I might do some more. Anyway, thanks for joining in.